Ever notice how the most confident people you know seem to handle life's challenges differently? They don't avoid obstacles, they run toward them. Like a blacksmith's forge, turns metal into strength. Facing difficulties transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Stoicism taught that true confidence doesn't come from avoiding difficulty, but from proving to yourself repeatedly that you can overcome it. I discovered this truth myself during my darkest moment when everything seemed impossible. Today, I'm sharing the one Stoic habit that transformed my own confidence more than anything else. And it's probably not what you expect. This practice changed everything for me, and it might do the same for you. The obstacle mindset. What if I told you that the very things you're trying to avoid are exactly what you need to become unshakably confident? Most people instinctively spend their lives trying to avoid obstacles. They take the path of least resistance, steer clear of uncomfortable conversations, and choose the easy option whenever possible. We're taught from an early age that success means finding shortcuts and avoiding problems. This is completely understandable. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. But there's a problem with this approach. When we constantly avoid challenges, we never build the mental muscles needed for true confidence. Think about it. If you've never faced and overcome a difficult situation, how can you possibly trust yourself to handle future challenges? You can't, and deep down, you know it. But what if we flip the script? This is where the Stoics offer a completely different perspective. They viewed obstacles as essential training grounds for developing character and confidence. It's a fundamental shift in how you approach your entire life. Our tendency to avoid pain prevents growth. Consider getting passed over for a promotion at work. You might avoid discussing it with your manager, skip the next team meeting, or even start looking for a new job. Each time you back away from such challenges, you send a message to your brain: I can't handle this. Do this enough times, and your brain believes it. Your comfort zone shrinks, and your confidence erodes bit by bit. Over months and years, it creates a pattern of avoidance that becomes increasingly difficult to break. The Stoics understood a truth that modern psychology has confirmed. Character is forged through difficulty, not comfort. When you face something challenging and work through it, you prove to yourself that you're capable. Each challenge you overcome rewires your brain to approach the next one with more confidence. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and dedicated Stoic, wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood that obstacles are the raw material of our actions. Without them, we'd have nothing to strengthen us, nothing to transform. From a neurological perspective, your brain physically changes when you overcome challenges. New neural pathways form and your capacity to handle difficulty increases. This neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself, aligns perfectly with Stoic wisdom. Your brain doesn't develop resilience during comfort. It happens precisely when you're challenged. I've seen this play out in my own life. When I first started speaking in public, my heart would race, my palms would sweat, and my mind would go blank. Each time I pushed through that fear, instead of avoiding it, I built more confidence. Not because I was telling myself positive affirmations, but because I was gathering real evidence that I could handle discomfort and survive. This mindset shift transforms how you see everything. That difficult conversation you've been putting off becomes an opportunity to build emotional resilience. The project that feels overwhelming transforms into a chance to expand your capabilities. The rejection that stings shows you where you can grow stronger. The transformation happens when you start seeking out challenges instead of avoiding them. When you actively look for the difficult path, because you know that's where growth happens. When you recognize an obstacle and think, good, here's a chance to get stronger. This approach creates unshakable confidence because it's based on evidence, not wishful thinking. Real confidence comes from the accumulated experience of facing difficulties and working through them. It's earned, not manufactured. When you transform obstacles into advantages, you build a confidence that thrives when things get difficult. You develop a quiet certainty that whatever comes your way, you'll find a way through it. Not because you're special or lucky, but because you've practiced this skill repeatedly. In the coming sections, I'll show you specific Stoic practices that turn this principle into daily habits. These are the same techniques used by everyone from ancient philosophers to modern CEOs, athletes, and military leaders to build resilience in the face of enormous pressure. Amor Fati. Love what happens. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to thrive under pressure, while others crumble at the first sign of resistance? When facing the same obstacle, one person finds opportunity, while another finds only frustration. The difference often comes down to a single Stoic principle: Amor Fati, the love of fate. This concept means embracing everything that occurs in your life, especially the difficult parts. The ancient Stoics practiced this, and later Friedrich Nietzsche made it central to his philosophy. Amor Fati represents actively welcoming whatever happens as exactly what you need at this moment. Many confuse this with passive resignation, the shoulder shrug, and it is what it is mentality. Passive acceptance resembles a stagnant pond, simply containing whatever falls into it without purpose. Active embrace, however, flows like a river, incorporating obstacles into its path and using their resistance to generate greater momentum. Passive acceptance says, "I guess I can't change this, so I'll tolerate it." Active embrace says, "This is exactly what I need right now to grow stronger." This distinction is crucial. Most men misunderstand this principle entirely. They think Stoicism means becoming emotionless, or simply enduring hardship with a stiff upper lip. But that misses the transformative power of truly loving what happens. Instead of tolerating the obstacle in your path, you welcome it as the path itself. History gives us powerful examples of this principle in action. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, transformed his suffering into meaning by observing how prisoners who maintained purpose survived while others perished. In one pivotal moment, he realized he could choose his response to unimaginable circumstances. Nelson Mandela, during his 27 years in prison, used his confinement to develop patience and strategic thinking. While breaking rocks in the prison yard, he cultivated the wisdom that would later help him lead a nation without bitterness. These men found ways to use terrible circumstances as fuel for growth. When you practice Amor Fati, a psychological shift happens. You stop wasting energy fighting against reality and direct that energy toward working with reality. Think about how much mental and emotional energy you spend wishing things were different. The traffic jam that makes you late, the rain that ruins your plans, the person who doesn't respond the way you wanted. When you resist what's already happened, you create unnecessary suffering. The practice of Amor Fati redirects that energy. The traffic jam becomes a chance to listen to a podcast. The rainy day becomes perfect for that indoor project. The difficult conversation becomes an opportunity to practice communication skills. Consider job loss. The typical response is anger, worry, and resistance. With Amor Fati, you might still feel those emotions initially, but you quickly shift to, "This is my chance to find work that better aligns with my values or to develop new skills I wouldn't have otherwise." Or consider rejection. Maybe you asked someone out and they said no, or you pitched an idea that got shot down. Amor Fati says, "This rejection is valuable feedback. It's showing me where I need to grow or redirecting me toward a better match for my efforts." With failure, you see it as necessary training. Every successful person has failed repeatedly. You recognize that these failures are essential to your development. This principle transforms your relationship with challenges entirely. You begin to see difficulties not as interruptions to your life, but as your life, the very material you need to become stronger and wiser. When difficulties arise, instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" you think, "What is this teaching me?" Those who practice Amor Fati immediately accept reality as it is and direct all their energy toward working with it. They start from what is and move forward. This creates a mental flexibility that allows them to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. The practice of loving what happens doesn't mean you never try to change things. Instead, it means you fully accept the present moment before taking action. This gives you a solid foundation of reality rather than wishful thinking. Negative visualization. The confidence paradox. What if I told you that imagining worst-case scenarios could actually make you more confident, not less? This might sound backward at first. After all, shouldn't we focus on positive outcomes if we want to build confidence? This is where the Stoics offer us a counterintuitive but powerful practice called negative visualization, or what they termed premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Unlike modern positive thinking techniques that emphasize visualizing success, the Stoics regularly took time to imagine worst-case scenarios in detail. I know what you're thinking. How could imagining everything going wrong possibly make you more confident? The answer lies in understanding what actually causes anxiety. Most of our fear comes from uncertainty, from not knowing what might happen or how we might handle it. When you deliberately imagine difficult scenarios and how you would respond, you remove the power of the unknown. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, practiced this regularly. Despite being one of the wealthiest men in Rome, he would set aside days to practice living as if he had lost everything. He would dress in simple clothes, eat plain food, and sleep on the floor. Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself all the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" Seneca wrote, "Think about it like this. What causes more anxiety? A surprise test you didn't prepare for, or one you knew about and studied for?" The surprise test, of course. The same principle applies to life's challenges. When you mentally rehearse potential difficulties, you're essentially studying for life's tests. The psychological mechanism at work here is fascinating. By visualizing potential problems, you're desensitizing yourself to them. You're creating mental rehearsals that your brain can draw upon later. When you've already imagined how you'd handle a setback and thought through your response, the actual event becomes less overwhelming. Here's a simple framework for practicing negative visualization without spiraling into anxiety. First, choose a specific area of concern. Maybe it's a presentation you have coming up. Then ask yourself, what's the worst that could reasonably happen here? Perhaps you forget your points, technology fails, or the audience seems disinterested. Next, work through how you would respond if this happened. What specific actions would you take? Maybe you'd bring backup notes, test equipment beforehand, or prepare engaging questions to reconnect with the audience. By mentally walking through this process, you transform an overwhelming fear into a series of manageable steps. Finally, return to the present moment with a renewed appreciation for what you currently have, knowing that you're prepared to handle difficulties if they arise. This practice creates what we might call emotional antibodies, mental and emotional defenses that prepare you for real challenges. Just as a vaccine exposes your body to a weakened version of a virus to build immunity, negative visualization exposes your mind to weakened versions of potential problems, so you can build psychological immunity. Modern psychology has a similar concept called stress inoculation training, where individuals are systematically exposed to small amounts of stress to build resilience. This approach mirrors the Stoic practice by mentally rehearsing how to navigate potential setbacks, building confidence, and improving performance under pressure. The payoff of negative visualization is powerful. By removing the fear of the unknown and building mental preparedness, you increase your confidence. You know you've considered the worst and have a plan to handle it. This doesn't create anxiety. It relieves it. You move from uncertain dread to prepared readiness. This practice also helps you appreciate what you currently have. When you vividly imagined losing something, you tend to value it more deeply while you have it. But visualization alone isn't enough. You need to combine it with actual practice. Mental rehearsal prepares you, but real-world experience builds true confidence. This connects directly to another essential Stoic technique, voluntary discomfort, where you deliberately expose yourself to challenging situations to strengthen your resilience. This brings us to another essential Stoic practice for building unshakable confidence, voluntary discomfort, training your resilience muscle. Why do Navy SEALs intentionally make themselves uncomfortable? And what can this teach us about building unshakable confidence? There's a reason elite military units don't train in comfortable environments. They deliberately seek out harsh conditions, freezing water, sleepless nights, physical exhaustion, to build mental toughness that transfers to any situation. This approach isn't new. The ancient Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, deliberately placing themselves in uncomfortable situations to strengthen their minds. They understood something our comfort-obsessed society has forgotten. Constant comfort actually weakens us. Think about our daily lives. We have climate control at the perfect temperature, food delivered at the touch of a button, and entertainment instantly available. While these conveniences make life easier, they can actually undermine our confidence. When we never experience discomfort, we never learn that we can handle it. Our comfort zones shrink, and with them, our confidence in our ability to face challenges. The Stoics embodied resilience through physical practices. Roman statesman Cato walked bareheaded in the rain, while others sought shelter. Seneca regularly took cold plunges and practiced living with minimal comforts despite his wealth, deliberate training to strengthen resilience. Today, many build mental toughness through similar practices. Cold showers have become popular as a daily practice in facing discomfort. That first shocking moment when icy water hits your skin, your breath catches, your muscles tense. Then gradually, you adapt. Your mind quiets. You emerge invigorated, having conquered a small challenge before your day even begins. Similarly, intermittent fasting challenges our assumption that hunger is an emergency. Difficult workouts push us past what we thought were our limits. These practices expand your comfort zone and build confidence through direct experience. When you voluntarily face discomfort, your body responds to controlled stress by becoming stronger. Scientists call this hormesis, the phenomenon where exposure to a low dose of a stressor induces beneficial effects. Exercise works this way. You stress your muscles to make them stronger. Cold exposure trains your body to respond better to physical stress. Fasting triggers cellular repair mechanisms that wouldn't activate otherwise. The psychological benefits are even more powerful. When you choose discomfort rather than having it forced upon you, you build agency and control. You prove to yourself that you can handle difficult situations. You're no longer at the mercy of comfort or discomfort. You've taken charge of your relationship with it. This builds confidence based on evidence. You know you can handle discomfort because you've deliberately practiced it. When life inevitably brings challenges, you have a reservoir of experience to draw from. Here's a framework for incorporating voluntary discomfort into your life. Start small. Take a 30-second cold shower. Skip breakfast once weekly, or take stairs instead of elevators. Progress gradually. Extend the cold shower to a minute. Try a 24-hour fast monthly. Add more challenging workouts. Notice your responses. Pay attention to initial resistance, the urge to quit, and the satisfaction of persisting. Focus on growth. Challenge yourself enough to build resilience without causing harm. The connection between voluntary discomfort and confidence is this. When you choose discomfort, you take away its power to intimidate you. You build proof that you can handle difficult situations, creating genuine confidence based on experience rather than wishful thinking. If you've voluntarily taken cold showers for months, how intimidating is a day without hot water? If you've practiced fasting, how threatening is missing a meal? Each voluntary discomfort builds evidence that you can handle whatever life throws at you. This practice transforms your relationship with difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as threats to avoid, you begin to see them as opportunities to strengthen yourself. This mindset shift creates a foundation for unshakable confidence. These practices prepare you for challenges. But what about when you're already in the middle of a crisis? How do you maintain composure when everything seems to be falling apart around you? The next Stoic principle addresses exactly this situation, the dichotomy of control, finding calm in chaos. What's the one mental shift that allows some people to remain calm when everyone else is panicking? Next time you're in a crisis situation, look around. You'll notice that some people lose their composure completely while others maintain a steady hand and clear mind. This difference often comes down to understanding a simple but powerful Stoic principle. Epictetus, one of history's most influential Stoic teachers, developed what we now call the dichotomy of control, a framework for maintaining composure during life's most challenging moments. Born into slavery and later exiled, Epictetus had every reason to feel victimized by his circumstance. Instead, he developed a philosophy that helped him find freedom even while physically enslaved. The core of this principle is straightforward. Clearly separate what is in your control from what is not. Most people waste tremendous mental and emotional energy worrying about things they cannot possibly influence. Think about your own experience. How much time do you spend worrying about the weather, other people's opinions, traffic, the economy, or past events that cannot be changed? Now consider how much that worry has actually helped you solve problems. Epictetus divided all things into two categories: things that are up to us and things that are not up to us. In his view, the only things truly up to us are our judgments, impulses, desires, and aversions. Everything that is our own doing, everything else, our reputation, positions of power, health, wealth, and even the outcomes of our actions, ultimately lies outside our complete control. This distinction can be summarized simply: focus on your response, let the rest be. Consider this modern parallel. You have complete control over your smartphone settings and how you use it, but no control over the cell network's reliability or whether someone texts you back. Similarly, in life, we control our reactions, but not external events. This becomes practical when applied to everyday challenges. Imagine you're stuck in heavy traffic and running late for an important meeting. Most people get frustrated, repeatedly check the time, and imagine negative consequences. None of this changes the traffic situation. Someone practicing the dichotomy of control would recognize that the traffic itself is outside their control. What remains in their control? Their response. They might call ahead to notify others, mentally prepare for the meeting, or listen to a useful podcast. By focusing on what they can control, they maintain composure and make the best of the situation. Here's a practical exercise to apply this principle in your own life. Take a sheet of paper and draw a line down the middle. On one side, write "within my control," and on the other, "outside my control." Now think of a challenge you're currently facing and list all aspects under the appropriate column. For example, with a difficult colleague, you'd list their behavior under "outside my control." Under "within my control," you'd list your responses, communication approach, and how much importance you give their action. This exercise brings immediate clarity and reduces anxiety by focusing your energy where it can make a difference. This mental habit creates a sense of agency, even in difficult circumstances. When you see what you can affect, you stop feeling helpless and start taking effective action. Modern psychology confirms this wisdom through concepts like locus of control and learned helplessness. Research shows that people with an internal locus, who focus on what they can influence, tend to be more successful, less stressed, and better at handling challenges. The payoff is profound. You can remain calm during crises by focusing exclusively on what you can control. In any difficult situation, Most people waste energy on things they cannot influence. By clearly separating what's in your control from what isn't, you direct your energy effectively and maintain clarity of thought. Next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what aspects of this situation can I actually control? Then focus all your attention there. Even in the most difficult circumstances, you always have control over your own responses. This mental framework needs to be practiced daily to become second nature. The next Stoic practice shows how to build this principle into your daily routine, creating a compound effect that strengthens your mindset over time. Daily reflection. The confidence compound effect. What did Marcus Aurelius do every morning and evening that built his legendary mental strength? Before taking on the responsibilities of running the vast Roman Empire each day, he took time for himself, not to relax, but to prepare his mind through a simple practice of reflection and writing. Most people move through life in a reactive state. They wake up, check their phones, and immediately start responding to other people's priorities. They react to emails, messages, news, and whatever the day throws at them. By the evening, they're exhausted, but haven't taken a moment to consider whether their actions aligned with their values or moved them toward their goals. The Stoics took a fundamentally different approach. They built their days around systematic reflection, taking time each morning to prepare their minds and each evening to review their actions. This practical mental training built resilience and confidence over time. What's fascinating is that Marcus Aurelius's famous book Meditations wasn't intended for publication at all. It was his personal reflection journal, written to himself as a form of mental exercise. In these private notes, we see the most powerful man in the world working through his struggles, reminding himself of his principles, and examining his own behavior with honesty. This practice centered around structured reflection. Each evening, Stoics asked themselves three key questions. Did I act with integrity? What could I have done better? And what can I improve tomorrow? These questions created accountability and turned each day into a learning opportunity. The morning practice complemented this evening review. Before the demands of the day took over, Stoics would set intentions and prepare their minds. They might ask, today I may face criticism from the Senate. How will I respond with patience rather than anger? This mental rehearsal prepared them to stay aligned with their values when facing unexpected difficulties. You can build this practice into your own life with a simple framework. In the morning, set aside 10-15 minutes for quiet reflection. Consider what challenges you might face and how you want to respond to them. Which virtues do you want to practice today? Patience, courage, self-discipline, or compassion? This preparation allows thoughtful responses rather than impulsive reactions. In the evening, dedicate another 10-15 minutes to reviewing your day using the 3 Stoic questions. Be honest, but not judgmental. The goal is learning, not criticism. Modern research confirms the benefits of reflective practices. Regular reflection enhances self-awareness, reduces stress, and fosters personal growth. It connects to concepts like deliberate practice and continuous improvement, applying these principles to your entire life. This practice creates a feedback loop that accelerates growth and confidence, like a blade becoming sharper with each careful honing. Each evening you identify areas for improvement. Each morning, you set intentions based on those insights. This constant cycle of reflection and adjustment builds self-awareness and purposeful action, creating a personal operating system that helps you respond effectively to life's challenges. Writing plays a crucial role in this process. The act of writing slows down your thinking and creates clarity. It forces you to articulate vague feelings and provides a record to track your progress. Even a few sentences addressing key questions can be powerful. This daily practice allowed Marcus Aurelius to maintain composure despite wars, plagues, betrayals, and the pressure of ruling an empire. The beauty of this approach is that it builds confidence from within. You create a relationship with yourself based on honest reflection and continuous improvement, making your confidence truly unshakable. What makes this practice powerful for building confidence is that it transforms your relationship with mistakes. Instead of seeing them as failures, you view them as valuable feedback. Each evening, you extract lessons from the day's experiences, building confidence based on learning from any situation. This fundamental practice of daily reflection underpins all other Stoic techniques we'll explore. Now let's see how these principles can transform specific areas of your life. From your career, to your relationships, to your personal development. Practical applications. Transforming your life through obstacles. How can embracing obstacles actually improve your career, relationships, and personal growth? Let's get practical and look at how these Stoic principles work in real-life situations you face every day. In a world obsessed with comfort and convenience, applying these principles isn't always easy. Social media shows only the highlights of success, hiding the struggles behind them. Productivity hacks promise shortcuts to achievement without the difficulty. Friends might advise avoiding challenging situations rather than facing them directly. The Stoic approach offers something more valuable than temporary comfort: lasting confidence through proven experience. Let's start with your career. Most people avoid failure at all costs. They stick to tasks they know they can handle and shy away from risks that might lead to mistakes. This approach prevents short-term embarrassment, but severely limits growth and opportunity. When you reframe failure as feedback, everything changes. Consider this scenario. You pitch an idea at work that gets rejected. The typical response is embarrassment and reluctance to speak up again. Through a Stoic lens, this rejection becomes valuable information. Perhaps your communication wasn't clear. Maybe the timing wasn't right, or the idea itself needs refinement. Each realization becomes a specific area for improvement. This approach transforms risk-taking. You begin to see challenging situations as essential learning opportunities. You volunteer for difficult projects, speak up more in meetings, and present ideas even when they're not fully formed. Each experience, whether successful or not, provides data that improves your skills and judgment. In relationships, the Stoic approach works similarly. Most relationship problems grow because people avoid difficult conversations, hoping issues will resolve themselves and prioritizing temporary harmony over long-term growth. When you embrace difficult conversations, your relationships deepen. Imagine feeling unappreciated by your partner. Instead of letting resentment build, you view this as a chance to practice clear communication. When I don't receive acknowledgement for the things I do, I feel undervalued. Can we talk about how we express appreciation? This conversation might be temporarily uncomfortable, but creates understanding that strengthens your connection. The same applies to receiving feedback. When someone points out a behavior that bothers them, your natural reaction might be defensiveness. Seeing this as valuable information about how your actions affect others allows you to respond with curiosity rather than defensiveness, building empathy and trust. For personal growth, deliberately seeking challenges accelerates development. Think about any skill you've mastered. Improvement happens most when you're struggling at the edge of your abilities, not when you're comfortable. This might mean taking on projects beyond your current skills, setting stretching goals, or practicing what feels difficult. Each chosen challenge becomes a training ground for building competence and confidence. Here's a framework to identify growth opportunities in setbacks. Separate facts from judgments. That's 2. Ask, what can I learn from this? 3. Identify one specific action based on that lesson. 4. Recognize how this experience prepares you for future challenges. This approach builds a reputation for reliability under pressure. People notice who falls apart during difficulties and who rises to meet them. When you consistently approach challenges with a growth mindset, others trust your ability to handle difficult situations, opening doors to greater responsibility. The transformative power of reframing your relationship with failure becomes evident over time. Each setback becomes a redirection. Each mistake becomes a refinement of your approach, a practical strategy for turning obstacles into advantages. Think about anyone you admire. Their path wasn't smooth. It was filled with failures they used as stepping stones. They succeeded because of how they responded to obstacles, not despite them. In our next section, we'll explore how one executive used these principles to navigate a near-catastrophic product launch that threatened to end her career, but instead became the foundation of her greatest success. The path to unshakable confidence isn't found in avoiding life's challenges, but in deliberately engaging with them. Each obstacle you face builds a foundation of confidence based on experience rather than wishful thinking. Start small today. Choose one minor discomfort to embrace, perhaps a cold shower as Seneca suggested. Or simply ask yourself tonight, what challenge did I face today, and what did I learn from it? This small practice begins a powerful shift in how you view difficulties. Each challenge becomes a brick in your fortress of confidence. Remember, the obstacle isn't standing in your way. It is the way